all healthy things grow. Children, trees, vegetables, anything that you want to be healthy, you expect to be growing.
Hey, welcome to Growing a Fruitful Brand, where we discuss how to create and grow a brand that makes the world a better place for you, your customers, and your employees. I'm Ben Lueders, founder and art director of Fruitful Design and Strategy here in Omaha, Nebraska, and I'm joined by my business partner and brand strategist, Lulla. And today, we want to talk about what makes a brand fruitful. So, as you might notice, like I just said, the name of our firm is Fruitful Design and Strategy. So we're all about fruitful. There's, no surprise. This is actually the name of our company. When I was looking to name this company years and years ago, and it was just me before Raj came into the picture, I really love this idea, this kind of biblical idea of fruitfulness, right? Be fruitful and multiply. And that idea of flourishing and growth and abundance. And it just kind of spoke to me at the time, maybe even ways that I didn't fully understand. But now that I'm a business owner and, many years have gone by, I've really felt like this really embraces much more than just, a cool name for me.
Yeah. It's not just a vanity exercise for us to talk about a brand being fruitful. We're not trying to put our stamp on other people, but instead we know that there's a bunch of you out there who aren't just in business for a few more dollars, a few more cents, selling a few more widgets, but that it's really about more. It's about caring for your employees, for your customers, and your own family and yourself. It's bigger than just dollars and cents.
Yeah, absolutely. One of our values here at Fruitful is this idea of abundance. We believe in abundance, and it kind of leads to all the other areas, all the other values of our company. And it really, that stems from this idea of believing that there's more, that we want to always be growing. And that's the kind of company that we want to connect with as well.
Yeah, when I think about abundance, I think about the fact that we live on a planet that naturally sustains life. And there's not a lot that there's really nothing that we did to deserve that. We could have been plopped on a planet that is impossible to grow food on, and there's no fish in the sea and kind of all of that. But instead, we live in this world that all of the root of commerce, if farming is the oldest profession, then
we're Nebraskans here, so we go to the farming metaphor is pretty cool.
But the root of commerce, being rooted in the ground, is something that we did nothing to create for ourselves.
Yeah.
It's the world was already hospitable to our activity, to our business, to our livelihood. And sure, it's a lot of hard work, but it's a world that's already set up for us to succeed. And so if we can take that mindset into business, sure, a lot of us work behind computers and those types of things now. But if we can take that mindset that the world's already set up for us to succeed, for us to work hard, for us to deliver value to other people, then it's just a much better and more gracious way to start in business.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like there's no Growing a Fruitful Brand podcast on Mars, and if there is, that'll
growing a rocky brand.
Yeah, exactly. The motto of our company, or our mission statement, I should say, is grow something good. You might even see it here on our mug. But I think when we talk about a fruitful brand, I think that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We're talking about companies, this might be you, that want to grow something good in this world. There's already things growing that are good, and we want to be a part of that. We want to maximize that. And that's basically what it means to be a fruitful brand.
Yeah.
So what makes a brand fruitful? First off, a fruitful brand delivers more value.
So around here, we like to think of it as we don't have 50-50 relationships with our customers. It's not that they bring their half by signing the agreement and paying their investment with us, and then we deliver our half. We see it as that we always want that to feel like they got more value than they paid for. We call it the 51% rule around here, that we always want them to feel that we gave at least 51% of the relationship, not just exactly what we were scoped to do and down to the I's and T's, that we delivered a little bit more whether it's marketing advice or a graphic that needs to be resized for a social media platform or something like that. We want them to feel like they got an outsized value for what they paid for.
So Raj, speak to like what happens psychologically there, though. Obviously, when you give someone a little bit more value than they feel like they put in, doesn't something happen there? I don't know if it's karma or what, but they might feel like they owe you. Are we trying to manipulate people there? Or
No, it's really a lot like, I heard marriage advice one time that if you were unhappy in your marriage, that you should try to outgive the other person. And so instead of trying to get your needs met, that just start with trying to meet their needs. And a lot of times you'll find that your needs are met in return. And it's kind of the same thing. It's not about, making them feel a sense of obligation to us. It's saying like, hey, if we treat you really, really well, we believe, kind of again, that sense of abundance, that you'll treat us well in return, that we'll have a long relationship and that things will be healthy between us. And, we believe that fruitful brands are more than just worth the money. How many things, if you go out to eat and you go, yeah, it was worth the money, it was fine. But if you go, oh my gosh, that was like the whole meal was done, and then there used to be this restaurant here in town there was these little cookies that were wrapped up right by the door, and they would give you those on the way out the door. And it's funny because you almost always forget that there's this just one more touch. There's just one more thing.
What restaurant was that?
I was the Great Plume, but it's gone now. So
forgot they went away.
But it's that kind of thing of just surprise and delight and value. It's okay. There are businesses out there that deliver just exactly what you expected. That, again, we kind of talked last time about the Walmart, great value brand. And that's okay because you want to pay the lowest amount possible for a tub of sour cream or whatever. And you get a tub of sour cream and it's in plastic that's a little bit cheap. If you drop it on the floor, it's probably going to spill all over the place. And so you kind of get what you pay for in that. But then there's other brands that that you're not you're not just paying for that, but you're going to get a greater experience, whether it's, the way that the Apple box opens, the iPhone box, that suction, that experience, that it's going to be more than just what you paid for.
Next, a fruitful brand is built to grow.
All healthy things grow. Children, trees, vegetables, anything that you want to be healthy, you expect to be growing. And the same thing is true for brands, for companies. If they are healthy, then they're going to be growing. And that can be in a number of different ways. It could be growing in sales, could be growing profit, but it also can be growing in impact, or it can be growing in value. But regardless, however it is growing, a healthy thing, a fruitful brand grows.
I like that you didn't just limit it to just the financial, because I think that oftentimes, you think that's the only way that you could be growing, but there is a lot of different ways to be growing.
Yeah, there's a bunch of service-based businesses where expanding, so if it's a craftsman of some kind, and then you try to hire another craftsman or contractor or whatever to handle part of the business. A lot of times that will degrade the experience. And, I've known some people, especially in sort of the decking, business where, or roofing, those kinds of things, where as soon as they spin up to multiple teams, and they can actually grow their revenue quite a lot, but sometimes their profit margins shrink because they're spending so much time and effort managing these different crews and paying for gas all over the city, cleaning up when somebody makes a mistake, all that. The business is actually somewhat less fruitful when at a higher revenue. Now, that's not always true. There's some businesses that they have all the right ingredients, and it's time for them to scale, to have a multiplying effect, to reap a big harvest, because they finally put all the pieces together. You kind of think of like Taco Bell or Chipotle or those kinds of things, where they can make millions of different things out of those ingredients, and people love it. And
they're basically just like the same things, but just kind of shuffled around different ways.
Yeah. Crunchwrap is essentially a taco inside a burrito, but we love it, so it's great. So
and now I'm hungry.
So it really depends on your type of business. It's not necessarily that you should, be trying to sell $1 million more next year. But at the same time, if you're a different kind of company, then it might only be a good goal to try to go 10 or $100 million more dollars next year. It really depends on your company.
Another kind of growth that I immediately think of is, one of our values is always learning.
Yeah.
And always learning new things, new lines of business. That's another way that individually we can grow in our companies, and how our companies can grow together when we encourage learning new things and kind of diversifying what we do, how we do things, expanding our services, which of course, ultimately should result in added profits and growth in a financial way. We think those have tangible financial results in the marketplace. But I think that's another way that you can tell if a company is healthy and is growing, is if they're trying new things.
Yeah.
You're breaking the stereotypes, and you're trying new ways of learning and doing things.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about again, let's go back to the craftsman. Have you ever watched those videos of people like laying bricks? And it's like I never knew that I was interested in a video of a guy laying bricks, but when you watch him just like seamlessly, it's like grab a brick, grab the mortar, and they smear it on, and it's perfect every time. Better than I could do with a machine.
My brother, he lays this fancy flooring for Hello Garage, a company here in town. For like high-end garages, if they want to do that, and he does these time-lapse videos of what they do, and it's just so like satisfying to watch them do that seamlessly.
So growing in your skills, growing in your knowledge, it makes it more fruitful. It makes it a better experience, because probably the first one that you do is a lot slower, and then you go, oh, I need to bring this kind of spade or trowel or whatever. I don't lay those things, but
you can tell Raj does this all the time.
A lot of it, yep. I had a friend one time who literally painted himself into a corner of a room, and it's like when the professionals do it, who have experience,
bringing a helicopter to get him or something.
No, he had to wait.
It's just like, here we go.
But yeah, it's the experience, the knowledge. It makes your product worth more. Even if you're just a one person service-based business, the experience that your customers get in year 10 is a lot different. It's a lot more valuable than they get in year 1. And to look out for certain things, like, if there's a crack in the floor and it might be a leaking problem or something like that, sooner, because you've seen this type of problem before. And so you're helping a customer avoid a very costly problem by providing that solution up front. And that's something you don't know the first time that you do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So another thing about brands that are growing is that, at least in our world, what makes a brand fruitful is that it's sustainable. We don't want to plant the seeds for an orange tree one day, water it, and then the next day it springs up and it's 20 feet tall, and hundreds of oranges are falling off of it, and then the day after that it's dead. That's not helpful. You can't build a business off of that.
Right.
Hyper growth can be, really interesting, but a lot of times it's brands that are focused on being around next year, so that your employees have jobs next year, so that your customers have a place to shop next year, and you're practicing healthy business fundamentals, that you are doing the right price, right size of delivery for your customer, so that your business can be around and like I said, employing people or serving people for years to come.
Lastly, a fruitful brand makes the world a better place. Now, you heard me say this at the beginning of the podcast. This is part of our intro. It makes the world a better place for you, your employees, and your customers. So let's just take those one at a time. First, a fruitful brand makes the world a better place for you.
Yeah. There's books out there like Profit First. That's a great read. But the idea is that if you're not taken care of by your company, then you're not going to be very much good for your customers. You're definitely not going to be very much good for your employees. If you're running around stressed all the time, worried about like, don't use that stapler. Staples cost money. You don't want to be in that place.
Staples do cost money, Raj, so I kind of feel like that was a little insensitive.
No, I mean, I think the point is anybody who runs a business has been there before. What's that been like for you? You started this business.
Yeah.
What are some of the war stories of coming up through that?
Well, yeah, it's funny. running a business, businesses go through many different phases, right? So oftentimes when you start, you're in this kind of like startup phase where things can be a little crazy and you kind of deal with a lot of high stress, maybe not a lot of money, maybe not a lot of sleep, in hopes that it gets better. You kind of tell yourself, and it does. It really does. There's, mo money, mo problems, as they say. But seriously though, like, there definitely was a lot of stressful moments early on.
Because also no money, mo problems.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. They're really just different kinds of problems.
Yeah.
Usually you do that when you're a little bit younger, you got a little more energy in you, but you know that like this isn't sustainable. Like I want to see my family. I want to be able to enjoy, my life. But yeah, like trying to take care of yourself looks kind of different in that phase.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of, maybe self-discipline and dying to self and some sleepless nights. Kind of like when you're going to college, it's like you're expected to cram and do the Mountain Dew all night and all that.
Yeah, bootstrap it.
But if you were to think like, oh, this is the rest of my life, the way that you lived when you were 18 or 19 years old, if you're like, yes, this is my, vision of my life. No, then not necessarily.
It's not healthy. It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Do you remember the time that just speaking of those bootstrap years, do you remember the time that you called me? So I was a contractor before I joined Fruitful as a partner, and I was serving our customers, and I needed an email address for Fruitful to serve our customers. And do you remember the time you called me and you're like, do you use your email? Because it's like $5 a month, and if you're not, we probably should just shut it down. I was like, yes, I use it all the time, and I've been using it now for still think 7 years.
Sometimes, because I was like, I'll go into like the Google admin and stuff. And it's like, are we using this one? And it's just like that mindset of like, it's $5 a month or $10 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whatever bananas cost these days, but like, yeah, it's a whole different world. You have similar stresses, but maybe different amount of zeros behind them. But the problem is real though.
Yeah. And again, all of this really just comes down to the fact that a fruitful brand, if you're growing a company that's healthy, you do have to pay attention to how it's taking care of you, of your family. Like you have dreams, you have goals, even of, if you've got kids and wanting to send them to college or certain vacations that you want to do. That's what you're building the company for. And, maybe dreams beyond that. Maybe you want to sell the company and retire and, go sip umbrella drinks on the beach and whatever sounds good to you.
Good.
But if you're just driving away day in, day out and you don't get to see any reward for that, it's going to lead to burnout. It's going to lead to not treating your employees as well as you would like. It's going to lead to health problems from stress. It's going to lead to your customers picking up on you being overwhelmed. How many times have you hired a contractor or a business and they go, oh, sorry, things are crazy. Yep, we'll get on that this week. And it's not a great experience. And you can't deliver a great experience if you are constantly under stress. Now, I don't want to be, naive and immune to the realities of the world. We go through difficult economic times. Yes, there is, as Ben said, those startup times where things are a little bit more lean. But when you are able to get to the point where you can pay attention to those business fundamentals to make those goals, one thing that helped us a lot was, Traction, the book Traction by Gino Wickman. A lot of people who read Profit First also will read Traction and, kind of make these systems, get your money right, get your processes right in your business, so that you can actually make real progress towards those goals. And, once you sort of exit that bootstrap phase, then it's time to start planning and making choices. And we've been running the EOS system, entrepreneurial operating system,
say that 10 times fast.
So just kind of slid through it. But entrepreneurial operating system, we've been running that for about 3 years now, and that's huge. Again, that's from that book Traction by Gino Wickman, and that's a good step towards making sure that that your business is going to take care of you. It's going to take care of your employees, which kind of leads us to the next thing.
The next part is, a fruitful brand makes the world a better place for your employees too.
You've done a really good job of making sure that everybody at Fruitful feels like they have a future not
thanks,
only
Raj.
here, but also just outside of here. What kind of, how do you approach that idea? Like, what are you thinking about when you lead employees here?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think part of it is, just some of it just kind of comes naturally. I'm not like always deliberately thinking, hey, if I do this, it's going to result in, X. And sometimes I probably should think that more often. I'm just trying to treat them like humans, treat them the way that I would want to be treated. But one rule of thumb is that, if you really believe in this idea of abundance, that this is an abundant world, your company is not the be all end all. And really at some point, this individual who's working for you will probably be somewhere else. They'll, grow in your company and maybe outgrow you, or who knows, you could be even working for them someday. This world is so abundant. I've, seen situations like that happen. So really just be thinking in that way, that like, not trying to keep people at this low level, trying to, keep them doing the same thing always and kind of burning them out and not giving them a path. Sometimes in a small company, it can be hard to make a clear path for people to grow, but always encouraging them to learn more, to take on more responsibility, and to give them, small goals to work towards. Because no one wants to be like stuck in that same rut forever. It's just not very sustainable. Yeah,
I really like that idea that sort of, if they're going to be here next year, we want them to be better than they are right now, and not because we need them to be better, but because we want them to be healthy and growing.
Not because they're bad.
Yeah. But if they're not here, if they choose to go somewhere else, we want the employer to be able to look at, before they came to Fruitful, they were probably at this skill level, and then after the time they spent at Fruitful, then they were at this other skill level, maturity, experience, all those things, because they had opportunity. That for us is a sign of, are we being fruitful towards our employees? Are we helping them grow to their next stage in life, whether that's with us or whether that's somewhere else, or even launching their own thing?
Yeah. I just think that's so crucial, though, to just really be kind of open-handed with that. And I think you'll get the most, just the best results too, for your own company. If you don't, try to hold on too tightly, or to try to like keep someone in a certain position against what's naturally happening. Like when you're growing a plant, sometimes I was just talking to Angela today, our admin assistant, and she we have all these plants throughout the office, which I love, and she's really like taking care of each one. We have the snake plant in like the front lobby that is just getting huge. I mean, it's like turning into like a dinosaur. But like, it's like, what do you do? Like when a plant starts outgrowing its, the pot that it's in, it's like, you gotta figure out how to repot this thing. We gotta get this, or, trim it down. Like what do you do? And so trying to contain people and trying to keep people places that they're just naturally outgrowing. It's like,
don't trim your employees down.
Yeah, let's not trim. That's not an option. But maybe, get a bigger pot, or put them in a different one. In different position in your company. How do you utilize that growth? If people are being taken care of well, they are going to naturally grow. Just like, again, like a kid or like a plant, like a vegetable. That's a natural thing. So don't try to stifle it.
And we experience this all the time in dealing with businesses, right? Like if you go to a fast food place and you know that the worker does not see any sense of growth or trajectory for themselves, and you get the hi, welcome to experience. That's why you don't get that kind of experience at a place like, I really admire Thrasher and Dan Thrasher, who promotes 25% of his workforce every year.
Yeah.
I mean, can you that's crazy. I've worked in a lot of, not a ton, but some retail environments and that sort of thing. And a lot of times it's, hey, here's the minimum that we can pay you, right, and good luck getting a raise here at all. But a place like Thrasher, where 1 out of every 4 employees gets promoted each year, that's amazing. Yeah. But that has to be done on purpose. It has to be done intentionally. I hope we can have Dan on to kind of talk about how he does that. If you're listening, Dan, give us a call.
Come on down. Yeah, exactly. And just so people know, he has more than just 4 people working for him.
He picks one each year.
I don't even know what they're up to now, but it's like 500 plus employees at this point.
Yeah,
so
it's a great business.
It's pretty amazing.
Great business. So the other thing is so we talked about the business has to be fruitful for you. It's got to make your world a better place. It's got to make your employees' world a better place. And actually, Story Brand that we're a part of does that really well too. Don tells a story about how he likes to buy the first lawnmower for somebody when they buy a house.
Oh yeah, I remember
that. There are these people they're not just workers. They're humans, and they've got families or fur babies or passions for traveling or whatever that they have when they are working for you, and you enable those dreams. The paycheck that you write enables those dreams. And
yeah, man, as owners, like I think that's we've talked about this, is like one of the most satisfying things we get to do is just the way that we're able to support people's families and dreams. And I remember when Erin, our first employee, when she bought her house, that was such a big deal.
Yeah.
It's crazy,
Yeah.
It was weird. It was just weirdly like satisfying, a little scary too. It's like, oh man, these people are actually.
It's like that's a 30-year mortgage.
Like, I didn't think this thing was going to be around in 3 years, but and then I was like, oh man, we better get our stuff together. And it's kind of like when you have a family of your own, where it's like it's super scary in one sense, but then also like satisfying and fulfilling at like a whole nother level.
Yeah. So we talked about better world for you, better world for your employees. Next one is a better world for your customers. And this is something that we believe really, really deeply. This is why we became a Story Brand certified agency. Again, we talked about this in episode 1, so feel free to go back and listen to that. But basically, Story Brand is a marketing framework that puts your customer as the hero of the story. It uses the principles of story that have been around for a long, long time and puts your customer as the hero of the story instead of putting you as the hero of the story. And it makes you the guide to your customer's success. And we think that is just probably the most succinct way to put what being a fruitful brand, what a fruitful company to your customer really means. It's delivering that kind of more than just worth the money value to your customer, because you recognize that they're trying to go somewhere. We're just helping where they're going. What are some brands that you think do that really, really well, that really embody this idea of making the world a better place for their customers?
That's a good one. One that comes to mind, Home Depot. Have you seen some of those Home Depot commercials? There's what does it say? How doers get more done or something like that. It's about like, really instead of looking at it from the angle of, we're Home Depot and, we're going to help you do this, or, we're going to do this for you. It's like just focusing on you, which kind of reminds me actually of the famous Nike, just do it. It's really putting the person wearing the shoes in that hero slot, and Nike's just kind of helping them accomplish their goals.
Yeah. We were looking at some other taglines for other companies, and Yeti had one that was, I feel like it was like almost there. It said built to go the distance. And, that to me kind of makes them the hero of the story. But even if you just added 2 words to it, it's like built to go the distance with you. And so this idea that like you're traveling, you're going.
There's a subtle difference between like we're the best to like you're the best, and we're like
we're reliable for you for what you're trying to accomplish, where you're trying to go. Apple, of course, we love Apple, and it's this classic.
Message is brought to you by Apple.
But they really stake their brand on being great for creatives, and several years ago, they took all the ports away from the MacBook Pros, and they forced us all.
The dark days.
Yeah, they forced us all into USB-C land, which actually USB-C is a great connector, and so that was a customer-focused move. But the big problem was there's a lot of creatives out there like us who need to use these cards called SD cards that go in cameras and recorders and all those things. And the computers used to have this slot where you could just slide that card in, dump all your photos and videos and all that, and start editing. And then they took that away from us.
Right. And we all entered dongle land.
Yeah.
Tons of dongles, USB-C dongles and everything.
Yes. My whole backpack. You even got like a little carrying case for for all of your connectors, and
for sure.
But they listened to us, and with the latest release of the MacBook Pro, they brought that port back, and it's been a lot better. It's been so much easier to edit photo and video ever since. So it's like they know that their target audience is creative people. They listen to the needs of creative people, and even did what would have been considered going backwards in design, but was a better solution for customers.
I mean, I think similarly, since we were talking about this MacBook Pro example, they brought in that little, what do you call it?
The touch bar.
The touch bar that again was maybe creative people will use this. You can scrub video really fast and do all this kind of stuff, and it probably had some good use cases, but I don't think that it just didn't work the way that they envisioned. And they removed it, and
a lot of developers use those top rows of keys for different functions, and and a lot of us had gotten used to sort of our quick shortcuts, and it just wasn't functional. They got rid of it.
Exactly, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. A lot of it is doing what's right for the customer, regardless of if it matches what was your idea, There's a lot of good examples of that in history where it's just like, hey, we thought this was going to work, but we recognize that what our customers really need is something else. So.
Yeah, well, it's like trial and error, like on a very high level. It's like you'd think you could like focus test that or A/B test it a little bit, but sometimes you just have to kind of go all in. And then just listen to your audience.
Yes, sometimes nobody wants new Coke. I liked Pepsi Clear, but I'm like, I think the only person on planet Earth who actually did. So I'm okay accepting the demise of that drink. But yeah, I mean, it's listening to your customers, knowing what they're really there for, and trying to make their world a better place.
Raj, like I said at the beginning of the podcast, we're here to help people create and grow brands that are good for themselves, for their customers, for their employees. But the natural outgrowth of that obviously has ramifications in the community, in the community that you're in. Can you speak to that a little bit? Yeah.
So in the early days of Fruitful, about 50 to 75% of our business was nonprofits. And we have a really special place in our heart for nonprofits, and we have loved doing work with them over the years, growing their donor bases and increasing their impact in the world. But there's also just something really special about a great company. People need great places to work and shop and do business. Of the hours that you spend awake, you spend the vast majority of your time either working or patronizing a business, working in a business or patronizing a business. And that's everything from groceries to plumbers to legal services, car dealerships, and beyond. I mean, we're almost always interacting with a brand of some kind or another. We're wearing a brand, we're driving a brand, we're sitting in a brand, there's
working on a brand.
Yeah, there's all of these ways that we interact with these companies. And we believe that more businesses should be amazing places to work, that they should create futures for their employees and their customers. They should make their customers feel honored to do business with them. And they should anchor communities with generosity and opportunity. We believe the world needs more fruitful brands. If you're growing a fruitful brand or you want to, you're in the right place. Like, that's what this whole podcast is about. It's not about us. Yes, our name is in the show, but it's really because we believe this. This is who we are, and we love doing business with fruitful brands, with great brands. And that's not just ones that we've designed. It's ones that help other people. We have a great partner, Red Fox Consulting. They've helped us grow our business. They're the ones who got us set up on EOS. The Thrasher has repaired, I think, both of our homes. And there's these great places that aren't just about, again, kind of squeezing out that next dollar or cent. They're about helping people when they encounter trouble, that they've got water coming in their basement, or they've got a legal issue, or they are trying to start something up, or they're trying to get healthy, or whatever it is that they're trying to go through. A fruitful brand, a brand that says, hey, we're going to give you more value. that we're going to treat you the way that we would want to be treated if we were on your side of the table. The world needs more of those kinds of brands.
Amen, Raj. At the end of every episode, we always want to give an opportunity for you to take a step back, look at yourself, and give you an opportunity to become more fruitful yourself. And so the question we want to leave you with today is, why do you do what you do? So not just, what do you do and how you do it, but like, what's the reason behind what you do?
Yeah. And this isn't navel gazing. It's not just, pontificating. It's really thinking about, when you got into the business that you're in, whether that's, something manual, roofing or plumbing or any of those things, or whether that's something very skilled on a different end of surgery or medicine or those types of things. Or even if it's something that you think is maybe not terribly sexy, but is important for the world, like somebody has to sell the pipes that become our sewers, and somebody has to, there's all of these businesses that kind of operate behind the scenes in the world. And just asking yourself, why did I get into this? What first drew me to either start this business or to join this business or to help promote this business? I think that's one of the most interesting things about Thrasher for me is I never would have imagined that a basement waterproofing company, a foundation
would be so
company,
inspirational.
Yeah. I imagined a lot of boots and mud and concrete and all those things, and their vision to redefine the customer experience, the contractor experience. It really guides them to make a company that is great for their employees. It's great for their customers, and does well for them as well. And so, same thing for you. Like how can what drives you? How can that make it a better experience for you, your employees, your customers, and then ultimately your community? Why do you do what you do?
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Growing a Fruitful Brand. Let's grow something good together.